Top athletes are busy preparing for the 2010 Winter Olympics and the 2012 Summer Games. This week, a handful of wrestlers on the national team is in Vermont, training in a town some have dubbed the endurance capital of the world. They're working on a variety of things, but oddly enough, wrestling is not one of them. NECN's Anya Haneke takes us to Pittsfield, Vermont for our cover story.
Monday morning, Lee Janes had her hands full trying to make a dent in a woodpile that didn't seem to want to budge. Wet and muddy and performing manual labor in the mountains of Pittsfield, Vermont, Janes knew she was a bit out of her element.
Have you ever chopped wood before?
No, man, I'm from New Jersey, and not from like any type of rural part of New Jersey either.
Wrestling with an axe is not quite what Janes is used to, though wrestling certainly is. Janes is ranked number 2 in the U.S. in her weight class, and she has her sights set on number 1.
I'm really, really close. Me and the number 1 girl are both 3-3 against each other.
Which is why she's here, and why 4 other Olympic hopefuls are with her.
Nobody else is doing this, standing out here in the rain and cutting wood or running up mountains or anything.
For 4 days, these nationally ranked wrestlers are training in Vermont under the tutelage of Joe DeSena, an adventure racer and the founder of Peak Races. What does he know about wrestling? Very little. But he does know a lot about hard work.
Hard work will get through anything you throw at him.
During the athlete's time in Vermont, DeSena, a Wall Street trader who moved to Pittsfield from Brooklyn, has thrown rock climbing, sheep waste shoveling, tire hauling, endurance swimming, and wood splitting at them, among other things. None of which they or he knew were on the agenda.
I never have a plan. I just kind of make it up as I go along, depending on the weather or how they look or how they feel.
Other than a couple hours of sleep a night, the wrestlers haven't had much rest since they arrived in Vermont on Saturday. They flew into Rutland, were driven to Killington, and then had to run the rest of the way to Pittsfield with their luggage, about 8 miles.
I only run 8 miles once in my life before yesterday, and then they tell me I have to run it with my bags.
3 days into it, J.D. Bergman didn't know what to make of his Vermont-style training.
I didn't really have any idea what I was getting myself into.
He, along with dozens of other competitive male and female wrestlers, was offered the opportunity to come here. Only 5 accepted, and now he understands why.
Are you happy you did it, or are you regretting it?
To be honest with you, I don't know how happy I am about it.
Happy or not, Bergman and the others say they recognize the value of challenging their bodies and their minds in a way they haven't before.
Really, you got to be willing to do what your opponents aren't doing. I'm the only person in my weight class that's training like this at all, and that gives me, a mental and physical advantage.
DeSena believes that mental advantage is what distinguishes a top athlete from a runner-up. And it can't be honed, he says, simply by lifting weights or perfecting a skill set.
Raking leaves might sound silly, but try doing it for 10 hours. It starts to get on you not only physically but mentally. Well, what am I doing here? And so if you can get, my feeling is if you can get past that, if you can get to a point where you realize you can do anything if you put your mind to it, it's going to help you on the mat.
Much like Rocky Balboa and his bare-bones, stair-climbing, meat-punching workouts, these athletes are stepping out of the gym in order to perform better in it. And they won't be the only ones reaping the benefits. This household, for example, will now have plenty of split wood to use for heat this winter.
I'd like to just ask people in town to support us what they need around their house or what they could use help with, and they tell us, and that becomes one of the challenges, one of the tasks.
So as chores are getting done around Pittsfield, these wrestlers hope they're taking a step closer to the 2012 Olympics.
What do you think your chances are of getting to the Olympics?
I'm not only going to get there, I'm going to win it.
And strange as it may seem,
That was a good one.
this, they think, will help. In Pittsfield, Vermont, Anya Haneke, NECN.
Most of the wrestlers left Vermont today. They'll return to their regular training at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. Lee Janes said after the time in Pittsfield, wrestling practice will be a cakewalk.